Newest plans to bury asbestos on the island could have an alternative, as government announced recent information received on one of our Pacific neighbours' plans to export the toxic material. Premier Toke Talangi told the House of Assembly this week that an expert from the Cook Islands was in the process of preparing its export for New Zealand. If successful, Honourable Talangi said Niue could probably follow suit. The expert has offered his services to assist Niue in dialogues. The department involved in the implementation of the asbestos project environment had many objections from members of the public a few weeks ago with the principal agreement by government to bury the toxic material on the island. Two experts also arrived on the island to clarify the process in which the department planned to bury the asbestos. Even though much objections were heard from the public, there are many restrictions as to why the asbestos could not be returned to New Zealand. Well, it seemed there might be an agreeable option for all if the Cook Islands can dispose of their toxic material to New Zealand, in which Niue will continue down the same path. This week, the Statistics Unit held a seminar to gauge the knowledge of HODs and senior staff of the interpretation of statistical information disseminated to different sectors on the island. We spoke with the chief statistician today and asked him about the training.
It's more like an interactive session we have with the HODs today. One is for them to be aware of the statistics that we produced in Statistics Niue, and secondly, for them to know how to use those statistics for their work in terms of decision making as well as policy making. And there's one thing too that I added on to it, is the fact that they must collect statistics themselves in the workplaces in order for them to evaluate and monitor their operations.
Kimmerer says this is the first time the decision has held a training specifically for HODs and senior staff of government, and their feedback has been positive.
Just by observation, they asked a lot of questions, which is good. Yeah, that's what I was expecting, for them to ask a lot of questions, because through questions, they will know. Otherwise, if they just sit there and do nothing, I don't know what am I supposed to say. Yeah, so judging by that, I'd say it's good. I hope that the objectives of the seminar will be realized by the end of this seminars, and also for HODs to reflect on how they do things in the workplaces now. They need to collect statistics. They need to use statistics. It's no longer in this day and age that you can do things without statistics. It has to be statistics.
Government has acknowledged the importance for HODs and senior staff in relevant departments to understand statistical data that will assist in planning, development and decision making. It is also important to convert numbers available to develop program and assist with policy making decisions. A separate session for parliamentarians will be held on Monday next week. The call for nominations of names for the Toi Village by-election will be closing tomorrow. Toi Village confirmed by the Justice Department to hold elections on the 31st of March following directives of a ruling by the Niue High Court that disposed of the sitting MP over wrong procedurals by the Speaker of the House, as well as the rules stipulated in the standing order. Mr. Deonto Fitu will have to re-nominate for the by-election. We'll bring you more on this story in our future news bulletin. Niue's first Judicial Code of Conduct booklet is about to be launched this weekend by the Niue Justice Department. A representative from the Justice Department said the book is a combination of contributions from a number of people over several years under the Pacific Judicial Initiative. Over the previous years, Justice Department worked in collaboration with regional experts to create the new edition, in which the representative said has been welcomed by the department. The booklet, he said, is not just for all sectors of the judiciary, including land, criminal and civil. The new Judicial Code of Conduct is expected to launch this weekend by Chief Justice Savage. And staying with the Justice Department, another event taking place during the launch of the new book is the swearing-in of Judge Coxhead, who is also expected to preside over the Court of Appeal, due to start next week. Proposed changes to the New Zealand Qualifications Authority's NCEA certificate prompted a short meeting with parents and caregivers of Niue High School for Year 11, 12 and 13 students on Tuesday afternoon. The brief meeting with the parents was to update and discuss developments with NCEA credits and NZQA requirements. NCEA is a national qualification on the New Zealand qualification framework that has 3 levels through Year 11 to 13 and has been used by the Niue High School for approximately 10 years now. Attempts to determine what the actual changes or updates and how they would affect students could only be confirmed by Niue High School, but the NZQA representative was unavailable for comment and did not return our inquiries. It is ironic, however, that the Education Department could not only confirm that there were some changes and updates, but could not give any details about these proposed changes, only for us to be referred back to Niue High School. Niue's previous Chief of Police, Ross Ardern, returned to the island last week for a 4-week stint in his old station. The surprise return of one of the island's favourites has been welcomed by many of the old faces. Mr. Ardern left the islands over 2 years ago and took up post in Samoa as the Superintendent, New Zealand Police Liaison Officer for the South and Southwest Pacific. Mr. Ardern fills in for Niue's permanent Chief of Police, Mark Chenery, while he is on leave. And to end our news bulletin for tonight, senior officials from Ministries of Health and Ministries of Sport in the region are due to meet in Brisbane for the Healthy Islands Through Sports forum to discuss collaborative actions to address risk factors that cause non-communicable diseases. The forum is supported by the Australian Government in collaboration with the World Health Organization and the Secretariat of the South Pacific, to be held on the 21st to the 23rd of March. The 3-day forum will include plenary, roundtable and working sessions on developing partnerships between the sectors and defining strategies and pathways to unite in addressing the NCD burden of each Pacific country. Incorporating healthy living concepts into sports is a new approach to addressing non-communicable diseases that will hopefully improve the health status of Niue's population. Niue's delegation consists of Fisa Pihingia, Griselda Mokoia, Bob Dalangi and Moka Heka, who will depart the island tomorrow. And that's our news bulletin for tonight. Good evening.